How's it, everybody? As Charlestown grew and developed, and the first ships were making ports on her shores, a railroad company took interest in the region, buying up large swathes of land leading to the first railroads in Charlestown being laid. On a patch of rocky land owned by the railroad company, on a hill adjacent to the tracks, they found a small vein of coal. Mining was started and a tipple was constructed to resupply trains entering and leaving the town, and for some limited export. From here, Charlestown Tipple was born. Around the mine, a small settlement grew, a company town, home to the workers of the mines, along with a church and a small company store. This made Charlestown the heart of the region's labor movements during the 19th century. There were many strikes and work slowdowns, and even some armed clashes between the workers and the railroad company. To this day, this is a point of historic pride for the people of Charlestown. In the 1930s, the railroad company was bought out by a larger rail company who electrified the rails. The coal mine collapsed economically and physically. Its entrance was lost to the rocks and the settlement was abandoned. The tipple burned down in the 1940s and the church in the 50s. All that's left is a few dilapidated structures and the memories celebrated by the people of Charlestown. This name and backstory was suggested by Emily, also known as Concrete. This suggestion had the biggest positive reactions of all other suggestions and was a clear favorite amongst most. So, Emily, I want to say thank you for the name and the backstory. With that, let's get into today's episode. How's it, everybody? Welcome back to the Nomasburg region. It's Sanctum Gamer here. We are at episode 18 and today we will be building a new town in the region. I think I should stop calling these things towns and just say it's a small little settlement to add to what's already there in the region. And this is not meant to be a big town or a big settlement. It's going to be smaller than Driftwood, maybe slightly bigger than Gizerton, or roughly the same. I'm not sure. I haven't really done a size comparison. But yeah, we're going to have a new town, and it is going to be surrounded by a lot of farmlands. Now, I had this vision of the type of look that I want this place to have, at least from an aerial point of view. So I wanted to focus on getting that aesthetic in place, and you're gonna see it quite nicely, I think, in the cinematics. Not so much this one, but probably in the actual overview episode of episode 20, where I'm trying to get this set of small settlements scattered around the entire land. And each settlement is then surrounded entirely by farms. And that's really the look that I'm trying to go for this area. Now, this is not the industry's farms. This is still the farms that are designed basically for aesthetics purposes. So I'm still using a lot of the farm decals. And what I like about these farm decals also is the variety in color that you get. So you get some that are quite bright colors, bright green, some other, I don't know, weird colors. But I wanted to mix up all of these different colors to get the different look, especially when you look at it from from quite a high vantage point. So really wanted to get that going, and the focus of this next 2 episodes, actually this one and the next, is to just get those farmlands in place. And I wanted the farms to sit not very close, but near the river that is running through the actual region. So if you look at the way the map has been laid out, I've tried to keep the farms closer to the rivers, and then inland I've tried to leave the inland areas more foresty, more rocky. And that's why we did the previous episode where it was just to put a lot of a lot of forest in place, a lot of rocks and so on, so that we have the farms kind of lining the river. And my thinking for that is simple, actually, because where the river is, I figured the land there is a whole lot more fertile, and given the reasons that I gave in the previous episode of the inland being more rocky and so on, it will make sense that the farmlands basically cover all of those areas. So yeah, hey, I wanted to actually take a moment to say a big thanks to everybody who actively submits names and backstories for areas whenever I ask for them. I really appreciate it. I know that it's not every single one that can be chosen, but I try and look at the different stories from different people so that different people's ideas and opinions also get shared. So this week's story from Emily for the abandoned settlement that we built, not only did I like it, but the entire community also liked it. So it had the vast majority of people actually showing support for it, which was really nice. So it's nice to see so many different people giving different stories. And yeah, I'm hoping that as time goes on and more areas get named, we will get a representation from a whole lot of different people. So if your story or name didn't get chosen for this one, don't stop submitting, right? Because the next one could be yours. I really appreciate it. I love to see the creativity of everybody in the community. And yeah, I just want to say a big thanks to everybody for submitting. Please continue to do so. I really appreciate it. For those that don't know, all of these submissions happen on my Discord server, so hop on there and you can also drop your names and your suggestions on there. Also on there is people requesting things that they would like to see me build. Now, up until this point, I've not built a lot of things that have been requested, right? And that's because a lot of the things that I see getting asked for are unique builds, or at least builds that will fit in certain areas better than they would where I am currently building. So it's not that I am ignoring those builds. I'm just quite cognizant of where I build the different things that I'm seeing come in. So I am going to try my best to get to every single one of them, or at least as many as I possibly can. That is the plan. So don't stop submitting and keep an eye out on the builds. I will definitely action as many of them as I can. I also see a lot of comments about unique areas being built and touristy things basically getting built in Nomasburg. Now, I am going to build a lot of those things. So people who are asking for things like universities, airports, hiking trails, and so on, I see all your comments, I see all the requests, and we're going to get to all of those things. The reason why I am not doing them quite yet is I like to focus on growing a region first, or a city, before I start building all of those tourist attractions and stuff like that. So in my mind, I want to see or at least I like to look at it as the people within the city or town that I'm building are the ones that will be the primary visitors to these touristy things. So I want to see the place grow a bit so that when I build those things, I will actually see a lot of foot traffic, in the area. I think 3 episodes back, we built Youth Lord's grain distribution center, and there was an industries farm that we built. Now, what I've noticed is it's not upgrading itself all the way to 5 stars. And what is missing is the number of people that it employs. So if you look at the industry stuff, there's a bunch of targets that you need to meet. It needs to employ a certain number of people, it needs to cover a certain number of cells, and so on before it upgrades to 2 stars, 3 stars, and so on. I've managed to get it to upgrade all the way to 4 stars, but I can't get enough people to go and work in that farm in order to reach that final 5 stars. So things like that are the reason why I am not building the massive industry farms, the reason I'm not building the massive forest industry and things like that. I need to grow the population of the Nomasburg region quite a bit before I can do that. If you look down at the population counter, we're not even at 10,000 people yet. So the plan is to introduce a few of these small settlements to gradually keep growing, and that's why almost every build there's some kind of residential areas that we build, is to gradually keep growing the people. But I don't want massive settlements around here, and that's fine. I will keep the small settlements because I'm trying to achieve a certain aesthetic look to the place. But I've always talked about this large town that I'm going to build, the second largest town in the region next to Charlestown. And I had originally thought that we would get to building that not building it, but at least laying the roads and its foundations by episode 19 of this, what should I call it, these set of videos. But that is not happening, right? I've got a lot of area that I still need to fill out on this side before we can actually get to building that town. Now, when we do build that town is going to be fairly large, definitely going to be bigger than Charlestown. It's not going to be a massive city with skyscrapers or anything like that, but it is definitely going to have slightly more denser buildings that will have more people in it, and so we should be able to grow the actual population a lot more once we build that. So the plan is when we come back to the Nomasburg region from episode 21 onwards, we will focus on getting that town up and running as soon as possible. And that town will have a few more amenities that people have pointed out in the comments, things like the university and so on. We'll introduce all of that in that town. And then with a larger population, we can start exploring all the other unique builds. We can start getting proper industries, farms in place and start hopefully making a lot more money. We can start putting together a lot more touristy attraction areas. We can look at building the airports and places like that. So all of that is in the pipelines. That's the plan for the region. And yeah, I really hope we'll get to this, but it's not the case. We still have a lot of ground to cover here. And that is part of the reason why this episode is actually so much longer than all the others. I mean, just as I announced that my videos are going to be 25 minutes long, I go and I produce a 30-minute one. So it's all part of me trying to fill out this entire area. But before I talk about that, or before I talk more about that, this is where we're going to be putting this other small settlement. I should stop calling these things towns and just call this one smaller settlement. And to the right of this main road that's running through it will be where the residential areas will be, and then on the other side we're just gonna have more farms to cover out the whole place. So I wanted this place to have a slightly different aesthetic to the other areas, have a small dense cluster of houses, and then a few more around it. I also wanted to have the docks here because this is a farming and fishing region that we're building, but I didn't want to use the default Sunset Harbor fishing assets, fishing docks or whatever they're called, because they're just too big for this place. So fortunately I found this awesome asset. I don't know who made it. I really need to make a point to note down the authors of some of these assets and what they actually called, because really they deserve a shout out. Some of these assets are really awesome, and I'm sure there are some of you out there who might probably also be looking for these assets as well. So I'll try and make a note of actually recording who actually made the asset, what it's called, and actually share more of that stuff in the build, so that anybody who wants it can actually go ahead and get it. Anyway, back to the build. So this dock is very cool because, as you can see, it's a Sunset Harbor asset, so I could actually draw out a fishing route, which allows me to have more boats running around, which is really what I wanted. So that is pretty cool, but I didn't want this to really be anything too formal, and that's why I put down all these dirt decals to kind of dirty up the whole place. And then a lot of these houses, I wanted some of them to have much bigger lots. So I figured, since this is in the outskirts of big cities, usually a lot of people tend to not want to stay so far away from the big cities. So those that stay around there generally tend to have bigger lots of land because the demand is not as high. And so I wanted to capture that feeling or that kind of look and have these houses have slightly bigger lots and so on. The housing assets that I used are part of, I think it's a university content creator pack by King Leno, and they break up the monotony of having these European suburbia assets all over the place. So mixing these two up, I thought actually added to the entire area quite nicely. So this is the first half of the town that we will cover in this build, and then the other half of the town will cover in the next episode, and that will be across on the other side of the railway. Okay, so this episode is quite long, notably simply because I want to try and fill out as much of the area as I can before the cinematic overview. In the next episode, I'm going to cover quite a lot of ground as well, simply for the same reason. So this video and the next one might both be around the 30-minute mark. So I'm sorry for those who are not big fans of longer videos. For those of you who have said you love longer videos, yay, there you go. I hope you enjoy. But yeah, so the rest of this town is really going to be filled with surrounding the entire place with farmlands. We'll put a small commercial space as well, so just like 1 or 2 shops and a small clinic to service this area. I don't put down a school of any sort. I think something like the high school will keep to the bigger towns, so these people will have to commute to the bigger towns for high school education. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. But we will put a small elementary school down, but we'll worry about that in the next video. All right, there isn't really much else to talk about in terms of what's being built. It's going to be really the same things, the commercial areas or small commercial areas. There will be farmland surrounding all of this place, and yeah, it's pretty much going to be the bulk of that until we get to the end, where I have one small little unique build that I've done. So I will keep quiet for now and let you just enjoy the rest of this build, and then I'll come in at the end and just talk a bit about this small little build that is different from everything else. Okay, I'll chat to you in a bit. Alright, so just before we get to the end of the video, I wanted to let you all know that I will be sharing the Nomasburg save game at the end of episode 20. So once that of episode 20 cinematic video drops, it will come with the link in the comments or the descriptions for anybody who wants to browse around and basically see things for themselves firsthand. So yeah, look forward to that. I think that is something that I plan on doing more regularly. I think after every 10 episodes, when I do that cinematic overview, I will share the save game on the workshop for everybody to just have a look at it. I'm not sure how I'll handle the River Valley, but I'll see. We'll see how it goes. Find a point where I can share the River Valley save game as well with those that are interested. Okay, so we're just going to finish off this entire area with just these 2 farms, I suppose. I wanted this one to follow in the same sort of footsteps as all the others, and then we'll put one more down that has its grounds not as well maintained as the others. In the next episode, we're gonna have slightly bigger farms with maybe some bigger stables and big areas for like horses to ride and so on. So that is the plan. And then to finish off this build, I thought I would play around with these mansion assets that I got. So I got on the workshop looking for some mansions, and I found these ones called the Los Angeles Mansion Pack, and they've been created by someone called A Tortilla 01, and I thought they're really nice assets. They're a set of 2x2 residential assets, but they've got this nice big detailing around it, which is really cool. And I thought I would just give that a try here for it to work as some rich tycoon that just has decided to set himself up over here. I like this so much that I want to actually create an entire area with just these mansions. Not sure if I'll do it in the next episode or not. I'll see how it goes. But I thought they're really nice. They're really awesome. Combining them, I can see them forming a nice little residential space, which will really be cool. And yeah, I'll give that a try and see. Hopefully in the next episode you'll catch that in. If not, when we come back to Nomasburg, it will definitely be there. So thank you everybody for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to give the video a thumbs up. Really helps to get the video noticed. Leave your comments, feedback on what you enjoyed and things that you would like to see. And yeah, I guess I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye.